Imagine a sweltering evening in Mumbai, India's party capital. You sit down with a cold beer to unwind after a long day, only to discover you've broken the law. According to Section 40 of the Bombay Prohibition Act of 1949, you need a special permit to drink alcohol. Getting caught without one could cost you a fine of 10,000 rupees, $115, or even up to 6 months in prison for a first offense. This law is just one of thousands of strange and strict rules that make life in India a real challenge. Let's explore why India has so many laws, how they affect people and businesses, and what can be done to ease this burden. Explained simply for those unfamiliar with economics or law. India is a country where nearly everything is regulated by laws, many of which seem illogical. According to VD, a legal think tank in Delhi, India has 7,305 crimes at the national level, 75% of which carry prison sentences. This phenomenon is called overcriminalization, when the state creates so many rules that ordinary people unknowingly break the law all the time. For comparison, the United States, known for tough laws, had 5,199 federal crimes in 2019. In China, 46 crimes can carry the death penalty, while in India, there are 301, though the death penalty is rarely applied. Overcriminalization is when laws prohibit even minor actions that seem normal. Imagine needing a permit to drink coffee or walk in a park. In India, many rules work in a similar way, making life more complicated. India has 28 states and 8 union territories, each with the power to create its own laws. This leads to a vast number of local regulations, often contradictory or absurd. For example, in the state of Uttarakhand, couples living together without marriage must register their relationship within 30 days and pay a fee. Failure to comply can result in a fine or 3 months in prison. If the relationship ends, the couple must deregister and pay another fee. Such rules force people to constantly deal with bureaucrats, wasting time and money. Another example is Goa, a popular tourist destination. A recent rule mandates that beach shacks serve freshly cooked Goan cuisine, specifically fish curry with rice, even though the law doesn't explicitly require this. In Kerala, a minister proposed fining people who use their phones while crossing the street. These rules often lack logical justification, but breaking them can lead to penalties. Each state in India is like a small country with its own laws. This creates confusion, as what's allowed in one state might be forbidden in another. For people, this means more bureaucracy and costs. India's tax system is another major headache. For instance, if you rent an apartment and pay more than a certain amount, typically 20,000 rupees per month, you must withhold 10% of the rent and send it to the state as a tax. This may require a tax identification number, TAN, and even hiring an accountant, which costs extra money. If you make a mistake or miss a deadline, fines can reach 200% of the tax owed, plus 24% annual interest, and in some cases you could face prosecution. Even honest mistakes offer no reprieve, making the system harsh. For businesses, taxes are even more complex. Companies that exceed a certain size, e.g. annual revenue above 40 lakh rupees or about $48,000, must register for the Goods and Services Tax, GST. If a business operates in multiple states, it must register in each one, even without a physical presence there. Additionally, companies must pay taxes withheld from buyers every month, even if they haven't been paid themselves. Large companies have legal and accounting departments, but small businesses often can't afford this, leaving them vulnerable to errors and penalties. By the way, GST is a tax on the sale of goods and services, introduced in 2017 to replace multiple local taxes. But it complicates life for small businesses, requiring extensive paperwork and reports. Imagine selling pies and having to file reports in every city where they're bought. That's the kind of burden small businesses face. Beyond serious laws about crimes and taxes, India has rules that are simply baffling. For example, cities build modern elevated highways but set speed limits as low as 30 kilometers per hour, 18 miles per hour, rendering them almost useless. Local authorities brick up entrances to parks for safety reasons, making public spaces harder to access. At airports, security may confiscate packets of spices but allow noodles containing the same spices in sachets. These rules often seem illogical, and people who've worked with the government confirm that they're frequently created without thorough analysis. For instance, A minister suggested that air conditioners should only operate between 20 to 28 degrees Celsius to save electricity, calling it a first-of-its-kind experiment. In Goa, the tourism minister decided that beach shacks must serve fish curry, despite no such requirement in the law. Such ideas often arise because an official simply says, "This is a good idea." Why so many laws? Many Indians attribute this to the colonial legacy. During British rule until 1947, a complex system of laws was created to control the population. For example, the Bombay Prohibition Act of 1949 stems from that era, when the British restricted alcohol consumption. In 2023, India decriminalized 183 outdated provisions and 42 laws, marking a step towards simplification. The government is now working on a second wave of deregulation and establishing a deregulation commission to ease the burden on businesses. A new tax law is also in development. These are positive steps, but the problem runs deeper. Lawyer Arghya Sengupta from VD explains, "We believe the state should have a say in every aspect of a person's life. Everything is fair game for legislation. This mindset drives politicians to create new laws to demonstrate activity, even if they're unnecessary or harmful. Excessive laws have serious consequences. Citizens lose respect for the law because there are too many rules and they're often illogical. If drinking a beer is a crime, why bother trying to be law-abiding? Businesses fear growth, as larger scale means more taxes, inspections, and fines. For instance, a small cafe owner in Goa might avoid expansion to steer clear of GST. Tourism. Odd rules like spice bans at airports or mandatory menu items frustrate tourists and make India less appealing. Daily life. Simple actions like renting an apartment or living together become bureaucratic nightmares due to registration or tax requirements. A senior official once complained, "The state sets impossible standards and then calls Indians lawless." But as he noted, the state makes it nearly impossible to follow all the rules. For ordinary Indians, these laws mean constant stress. Want to enjoy a beer in Mumbai? You need a permit. Renting an apartment? You might need an accountant to avoid fines. For small business owners, like those running cafes or shops, every new rule means extra costs for lawyers or reports. For tourists, India can feel like a country where every step comes with a restriction or fine, spoiling the travel experience. These laws also hinder economic growth. India, with a GDP of $3.9 trillion in 2025, is one of the world's largest economies. But excessive regulation holds back small businesses and deters foreign investors. For example, the complex GST system forces companies to spend more on bureaucracy than on new products or jobs. Is there hope for change? The decriminalization of 183 outdated laws in 2023 and plans for further deregulation are positive steps. The government recognizes that excessive rules harm businesses and is working on simplifying the tax code. In 2024, it announced the creation of a deregulation commission to reduce bureaucratic pressure on companies. A new tax law is also in the works to make rules clearer and less punitive. However, change is challenging because the problem lies in the culture of governance. Politicians and bureaucrats are accustomed to controlling everything, from air conditioner temperatures to beach shack menus. For India to become easier to live and work in, a shift in mindset is needed. Fewer laws, more trust in people. What this means for the world. India, with a population of 1.4 billion, has immense potential, but excessive regulation stifles its progress. Simplifying laws could make India more attractive to tourists, investors, and entrepreneurs, leading to more jobs, cheaper goods, and a better quality of life for Indians. This story highlights how laws meant to protect can make life harder. India has a chance to become a place where drinking a beer or starting a business is as easy as elsewhere, but it will take significant effort to get there. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Support us on Patreon, link below.